Welcome to BabelQuest Beyond the Hub, where we explore strategies, tools, and insights that help businesses maximize their growth potential. I'm Laura Shelton, a senior account manager here at BabelQuest. We're an elite HubSpot partner dedicated to helping businesses transform their sales, marketing, and service operations. Before we dive into today's conversation, make sure you're following us wherever you get your podcasts, so Spotify, YouTube, or join us live on LinkedIn every month, so you never miss an episode. You can also connect with us on LinkedIn by searching for BabelQuest or visit babelquest.co.uk for more resources. Today, we're excited to be joined by Jem Rugg-Gunn, the head of expert practices here at BabelQuest, who will be breaking down automation in HubSpot for us and hopefully inspiring us all to try something new. Jem has nearly 10 years experience working with BabelQuest and HubSpot, working with us as one of our platform consultants and now heading them up to help clients really unlock potential with HubSpot. Her favourite topics are platform strategy, reporting, RevOps, data management, and portal administration. So I'm really looking forward to getting into a topic which effectively comes into all of those. Jem, welcome to Beyond the Hub, this time as a guest. So,
Sure.
Our first question, automation is big in HubSpot at the moment, and it can feel quite overwhelming. What would you say are common barriers that you come across when it comes to clients using it?
Yeah, it's definitely a good question because it's definitely overwhelming. And I think one of the main things that clients come across with it is they've bought this platform that is an automation platform effectively. It's meant to do automation, but actually they come to it and go, this is a lot. I don't know how to deal with this. So I think that's one of the biggest things is knowing how to start. Often the actual workflows tool, which is kind of the core of the automation in HubSpot, is also changing a lot. I'd say if you looked at it 1-2 years ago, it is so different now. They have simplified it, but it can be a little overwhelming and you need to know what you're doing before you get started on it. So I think often we're coming across clients needing a bit of training, a little bit feeling confident that they know what they can achieve. Equally, the introduction of AI is really adding complexity too. So there are lots of these new features, which is great, but this is a tool that was already a little bit overwhelming. So adding that in suddenly becomes a bit of a barrier to starting. Once you get going, it's fantastic. But I think it's knowing how to get started that's the problem.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think even working in a team of HubSpot nerds, I still find it very overwhelming. So it's definitely complicated there. So what would you say are the key things to know about workflows as a beginner?
Yeah, I think the main thing is to know your goal or your purpose, really. There is absolutely 0 point going into workflows or any form of automation in HubSpot and just going, I'll see what I can do. I'll see what comes out of it. It's kind of like reporting in that sense. You can't just approach it and expect something magic to come out the other side. You need to know what you're trying to achieve and why you're doing it. In workflows, you can actually set a goal, which, if met, removes them from the workflow. I think that doesn't necessarily work for everything. If it's a small admin workflow, you don't really need a goal, but you still absolutely need to know the goal and the purpose before you even start a trigger, because to know what trigger you're going to need in a workflow, need to know what you're trying to achieve at the end. So that's the one big thing. The next thing, and I've always referred to HubSpot as kind of with workflows, think of a workflow as kind of a conduit through which a load of water is falling. So you take a cup of water, you pour it in the top of a workflow, that water is going to go straight to the bottom unless you put those branches and delays in place to guide the flow. Yeah. So you need to think about all the eventualities. You've got your trigger, that's the trigger of pouring the water in. Do you want all of those emails to send immediately? Probably not. You maybe need to put some delays in, put some branches in. Is it that you're going, if email 1 has been opened but not clicked, we're going to do a resend with a different ETA and then send it again? Like, I think it's looking at the journey throughout that workflow and thinking of that kind of water analogy to see where do you need to put the stops in place to really guide it and to work towards your goal. The last couple of things there is just keep it simple. I've seen so many monster workflows that I understand the logic behind them, but they are an absolute beast to manage. Like going in and looking at a workflow that's got like 30 branches and so much complexity to it, that is impossible to keep on top of. And if you've had a couple of changes in staff, it's going to be really difficult. So keep it simple. If you need to have 3 workflows, have 3 workflows. I'd rather have multiple workflows that are all simple with a clear purpose than one trying to do everything. And then the last thing would be looking at your settings, but making sure that, when should this fire? Is it just business days only? If someone fills out a form at 3 a.m. on a Sunday night, Sunday morning, do you want all of the subsequent nurture emails to send at 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning? Because that's what will happen if you've not put specific timings in there. And do you want to skip it? Things like bank holidays. So think about the settings and the little elements of it as well. That was quite a lot, but those are, in summary, the main things I'd look at.
I know the other day we were talking about kind of sign-ups to events and the workflows there, and if you might have people that sign up at the beginning when you want them to, like a few weeks before, but they could also sign up the day before. So you need to think of all of the possible eventualities there.
Yeah, and HubSpot's got lots of features that can help you with that. So like if you've got a delay that's like up until the delay, do this. But if they join the workflow after that delay's happened, take them on a slightly different journey because you still want them to receive an email with the link to the webinar, for example. So yeah, think of that and put yourself in the shoes of the person to think of those different eventualities.
Yeah. What are the absolute minimum automation workflows that every new HubSpot user should set up?
Yeah, there's so many that you could do here. I think the first one, very simple, is admin. So looking at some of those administrative things that you need to keep on top of, but is going to be time consuming to do. So firstly, marketing, non-marketing contacts. In HubSpot, if you go over your number of marketing contacts, it automatically rolls you to the next tier. You don't want to be doing that on a regular basis. So having some workflows set up to basically look at what triggers a contact being turned to non-marketing automatically, and that running in the background so that you're automatically cleaning up those marketing, non-marketing contacts. That's crucial in my mind. Another one is flagging data gaps. So you know your core fields, and I'll go into this a little bit later, I'm sure, as we get into the details here. But what is industry really important to you? In which case, if after a day a contact's still not got an industry, flag it. Make sure the contact owner's filling that out. And then, your standard kind of looking at unsubscribes, bounces. Do you remove them from the system? Do they become non-marketing? So I think the admin is really important. There's so many you could do on that, but they're the basic ones to get started with. The other one would be around kind of managing your lead journey. This is something that regularly come across clients not doing this, and actually it's really important as a foundation for your portal. Lifecycle stages are a HubSpot kind of staple, and it's often something that's actually quite abandoned. So HubSpot has standard automation for lead when someone fills out a form, opportunity when a deal's created, or customer when a deal's closed. But what about in between? What about SQL, MQL, all of those elements? You're going to need some automation setting that. So I think that also assignment. So when it moves to an MQL and you want to assign it to sales, what is that handover process? Who does it need to get assigned to? And what feedback can you get? All of that could be automated quite easily, even rotating amongst sales members and getting them to tick certain boxes that then gets fed back to you so you know what's happened to a lead. I think defining that lead journey and automating elements of it, really important. And then kind of going back to the third absolute minimum, and there's people here going, I've only got one workflow and I'm reeling off all these ones, but definitely be using it more than one. Communication. So what's that foundational automation that you need in there for communication? So this should tie everything together. Someone's filled out a form. Have you got a follow-up? email to say, thanks, we've received your form. Someone's been allocated a lead. Can you send it to them and tell them they've been allocated that lead? That's kind of on a foundational level. You're then looking at lead nurture. So this used to be the bread and butter of what people got HubSpot for. But I think as the platforms got bigger and bigger and more complex, and people are thinking big picture, they're maybe forgetting some of the basics. And actually lead nurture, pick one area, one thing you want to nurture on. Is it a webinar you've got coming up? Is it one particular product that you're really wanting to push? Start small, simple, of like 5 emails with a delay between them. Start simple, and that alone can get your database clicking on emails, creating those reports, crafting those future campaigns. So I think, that like getting something in place that's emailing out as well as that internal admin is really important, but often forgotten.
Yeah, and I think like with AI being everywhere, all we're trying to do is speed up what we can do and stop wasting time on these basic things where we can get the tools to do it for us. So really important to get these basics done and also keep our CRMs clean, keep the data clean.
100%. Yeah.
So beyond the basic email automation, what's often overlooked when someone is just starting with HubSpot workflows?
I think as I've kind of gone into some of those areas of like, it seems very simple, but often even lead nurture is overlooked now. I think thinking about like, often people think they have to go quite big, and they think about some of these bigger processes, but actually some of the biggest wins can be the smaller things. And I did a session last week in our Ox Hub, which we run every couple of months. And I spoke about the art of the possible with automation. And I think that's something worth touching on here, because it's like actually some of the things that get overlooked are things like, how can you automate those little things that are actually taking up your time and use AI and things like that. So one area, process automation, using it for escalation, something really simple. If a lead's not been picked up within 24 hours, could you escalate it? Or could you make sure someone else is picking it up? Ensuring consistency. So making sure the process is followed by setting tasks, setting things to happen in a consistent manner. And then even like such a simple thing that I've mentioned to quite a lot of clients, and they've gone, of course I should do that, is using reporting dashboards as team agendas. So actually having meetings and using a dashboard to keep everyone on track. But the automation element of that is have the email automated to send out the day before your meeting every week. The team receives the email. They know they've got to get a couple of things done before that meeting. It means you're actually reminding everyone of the agenda, and they're managing to do their actions, but you're not having to do anything. So it's helping to stick to that process. And that's often overlooked. I'm not going to really touch on it too much because I've kind of gone into it already. But the other thing I spoke about at Ox Hub was about external facing automation. So we've spoken about nurture, about emails, but actually something that goes beyond workflows is looking at things like customer agent. So this is now something that used to be in Service Hub, but it's been expanded to all of the hubs, and using the new HubSpot credits, being able to feed AI information about your business so that it can actually help be that line of front support to answer specific questions that are always asked. Could you give it a list of FAQs and it can help answer some of those, so that actually your team can be reserved for more important, more in-depth, more complicated questions. I did a whole session where I was in your shoes, Laura, where I spoke to Caitlin over at HubSpot about Service Hub and how that's changing. And customer agent, whilst not a workflow, that is a huge piece of automation that can be groundbreaking for businesses to really improve the efficiency of their service teams. The last thing would be around productivity hacks. These are the other things that are overlooked. Using Copilot to ask it, like, when did this company last have a meeting? To use AI summaries as well. And also recommendations. So these are all around using AI, and these go beyond workflows. And I think that's kind of my point, is the bits that are overlooked are when they're not using workflows. still automation. Like HubSpot has automation baked in. You don't have to use a workflow for it to be automation. And using some of these AI tools really helps you to unlock that without having to spend hours looking at logic, because the logic's already there in the back end.
Yeah, and I think the Copilot and the AI summaries are ideal for when I have
Yes.
client meetings. They can just summarize everything that I need to know before heading into a catch up without me having to run around to 10 different people to find out what's been going on. So definitely good. And I don't have to build anything, which is definitely a bonus. Okay, so let's dig into those three areas a bit. How can automation help with process?
I think I mentioned escalation there about moving it up if it's not picked up on time, but actually also data accuracy. So if you've defined as a business that you want certain things completed, being able to automate the nudges to get those filled out is great. Equally, being able to trigger lifecycle stage or deal stage movements based on activities. So not having to wait for someone to go, oh, that's an MQL and move it manually, or which at the moment, the default in HubSpot is that. Like you'd have to manually mark them as MQL. Often it just gets skipped altogether and they they have to go straight to opportunity. It doesn't help with your reporting. So I think it's just making sure things happen, basically, that otherwise might get forgotten or deprioritized. That's the main thing with process.
What sort of things could automation do there?
I think there's all sorts of things with what automation can do that are like clever. I think task automations, being able to create reminders, that kind of thing, automated follow-ups. So you've had a meeting with someone, like automated follow-up 2 days later, make sure like did things go in if you had a chance to think about it. But the one I really want to touch on here is not just AI summaries, but also there's a new beta around workflow buttons. So within a contact or a company or a deal record, actually you can now set up specific buttons where clicking on it triggers a manual enrollment workflow. So Chris in our team has done some really good examples of this, one being summarize for the boss. So effectively that's one button that literally just says summarize for the boss. And on the back end, there's a workflow that uses AI to say, use the AI summary, but put it into an email with a little bit of context and send it to your manager or whoever. That's a really simple one. Or create a deal. So yes, on a company, you can click create a deal, fill out all the information, etc. But a lot of the time, people like to have naming conventions for deal names. There's certain information that's standard. So when you first raise a deal, you might just want to set the close date as a month later. Like there's these little bits that actually take time. So instead, having a button that you just click and it creates a deal automatically for you. So you can just refresh the record and it's already associated. That's got the company name, new deal, that's got a suggested close date, that's already got all of the right people and the right company associated. And you can just go and fill in the nuance and the specifics. That saves so much time. So I think the power of automation there, and if there's one thing to take away from the session, is to go and find that beta for workflow buttons, because I think that's something that got us all really excited when it launched, and I think that makes such a difference and brings workflows into the realm of everyone using them rather than just marketing sending out emails or the operations team setting up admin stuff with them. I think it involves everyone.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned there about the deals, how it saves time, but I think it also reduces human error as long as we've kind of got the right prompt for the AI tool for the button there. But I remember creating deals and always getting picked up on the dates being wrong and stuff. So human error will decrease massively there.
Yeah, definitely.
So one of the big recurring themes from clients at the moment is data and keeping it accurate. So how can we use automation to proactively identify and address data quality issues?
Yeah. So I touched on this a little bit, but the first thing I always ask clients is, yeah, we know you've got all these custom properties, you've got lots of information that's logged on a company, for example, or a deal or a ticket. but what are the core properties? Like, what are the make or break properties in your portal? So for a company, usually go for like about 5 because that seems to be usual. But for a contact, for example, you need a job function sometimes. So that's often a job title leading into a job function that categorizes them. You might need the persona filled out, or the industry, or I don't know, product of interest. It's defining those for your business, because those will vary for every single business. And then deciding, okay, we've got those 5 properties. We know they're the core ones. Those are the ones that we need to do our reporting. That's the priority for filling them out. So then how are they populated? So could you do reminders for the team to populate them if they have to be filled out manually, or could you even use automation to populate them? So recently looked at a really good hack, I think it was from Hannah, one of the consultants, that was around using email address to populate country, because obviously you've got your UK like or anything that then can give an idea of country. To some extent you could say that's an assumption, because they might have an email address that's different to their actual location, especially with remote working and stuff. But it's something, right? And they're not. No one is going to go, where on earth did you get that I'm in the UK from? Because their email address is the UK one. It's not a stretch, is it? So I think you can certainly make assumptions and verify them later. So could you send them a marketing email that says, we've currently got it down that you're based in the UK because of IP address, email, or whatever. If that's wrong, can you tell us? So I think like being able to make assumptions from data can be really helpful, and using AI for that as well. Like some of the Breeze enrichment using HubSpot credits, really good for this, filling in those gaps as well. So, but I think once you know your core properties, you can really hack. How do I get those filled out? There are lots of different ways to do that, but it prioritizes it. I think that's really important to have that focus.
Yeah, definitely. And so how can we effectively test and monitor our HubSpot automations to ensure they're working as intended?
Yeah. So until recently, I would have said use the analyze and health tabs. So was unused workflows, needs review, that kind of thing. But now there's a really good new automation overview which covers this. So there are recommended automations based on what you're doing. The one that I find really cool is it will look at your forms that are getting lots of form fills and suggest follow-up. So it's like, oh, this form is being filled out loads, but there's no automation attached to it. So could you do a nurture from that one, etc. It also looks at automations by source. So have you got no automation for people being input manually into the system? That's one that often comes up, is you've got all these beautiful HubSpot automations being set up, but actually, and if you look at the unused or needs review, they're working fine. But then if you go a level deeper, there are certain sources of data that are completely missing it because it's not set up to handle those manually added contacts. Is set up to handle the form submissions or the paid ads conversions. So I think looking at a little bit deeper and looking at those things in the automation overview are really good as well.
Yeah. And then so are there any hidden tips and tricks for automation that people may not be thinking about?
Yes, I think the big thing that's kind of, I think has come across in this chat is that people can get really hung up on workflows being the key to automation. But I actually just think HubSpot is automation. Like it's a CRM platform that has automation baked into every element of the whole thing. So really just think about the big picture. So could you be sending dashboards out automatically? How could you be using sequences? I had a really good discussion, actually, which was a nice tip and trick with a team the other day that said, great, we want to use sequences because we want to personalize our outreach to people. So workflow is more one-to-many. We want this to be one-to-one, but it's going to take ages because we want to tailor to specific likes and dislikes and all this kind of stuff. And I suggested, okay, well, why don't you have the sequence set up that's looking at your specific vertical, and then have snippets, which are then taking it to that almost like that third dimension, which is looking at, okay, of that vertical, what are the variations, and have like 3 snippets set up. So then when you go to send the sequence, you go, okay, yeah, they're in finance. and they're this persona, so I'm going to bring in this snippet. That will save so much time. But I think that's the hidden tips and tricks. If you're thinking, no, I need to do that manually because of X, Y, Z, just think a little bit outside the box and what could you be doing to support you in that. I think that's probably the big thing. I think, yeah, mainly just consider different ways of doing things, ask for advice, see how other people are doing it, and it will unearth lots of other options, basically.
Yeah, and I guess potentially using AI to ask advice as well to see what we can do. But
Yep.
thinking out of the box and looking at the whole process seems to be the theme so far.
Yeah, definitely.
So thanks, Gemma. It was really interesting. I know I've personally learned a lot, and it's been an absolute pleasure diving into these incredible insights on Beyond the Hub today. So a huge thank you, Gem, for sharing such valuable wisdom with us, and all of kind of your recent conversations. If our listeners are feeling energized, as energized as I am, and want to connect with you or explore fantastic work further, where's the best place for them to reach out?
So LinkedIn is probably the most straightforward, isn't it? Just search Gem Rugg-Gunn on LinkedIn. I'm there. Connect with me. Always happy to answer questions. I love a problem if you throw a problem at me. And then also I help co-host our product updates with my colleagues Amy and Chris. So we'll link the sign up for the product updates from this, but I join that as well because I am over there. So yeah, looking forward to hearing from some people after this.
And I know I always throw problems at you, so you do love it.
Yeah.
So again, thank you. I always come away from updates with something new that I want to explore. So I will be doing that this afternoon. And for our listeners who are keen to keep growing and learning with us here at BabelQuest, we've got some absolutely brilliant events coming up that you definitely don't want to miss. Again, as Jem said, join our regular monthly HubSpot product update webinar, where we break down into the most exciting new features and show you how you can make them work for your business. I think that's the key as we go into the detail and kind of walk through them, which really kind of helps show how you might input them and embed them and if they'd be useful to you. So we're also running some really cool, valuable, special hands-on training sessions every other month. So May, we did a session about maximizing team productivity using HubSpot's AI tools. It's perfect for anyone who is genuinely looking to cut through all of the AI chatter, which is everywhere. And you can find practical ways to put your AI into your work. You can access that session on demand and sign up for any upcoming webinars via the link in the description. And also, I'm very pleased to announce that we have recently released a brand new AI playbook. This is giving you a step-by-step guide on how to take your automation to the next level, and beautifully implement AI across your sales, marketing, and service operations. So you can get this now and download it from our website. And if you enjoyed today's chat, please take a moment to rate, review, and share it with a friend who you think could benefit from this conversation. And for any questions, if you'd like to suggest a topic for the future, just drop us an email. You can email our colleague Tanya at babelquest.co.uk or reach out to one of us on LinkedIn. But yeah, so this Beyond the Hub session by BabelQuest, and we will chat to you on our next episode.
Thanks, Laura. It was great to chat to you about it. Thank you.